In high school, you had to prove yourself because the thing was, you start off as a low guy, a little guy, you're dealing with like the big guys who are the seniors, right? You're gonna get bullied. If it wasn't for the gang, I would have been bullied. They served me as protection.
What up, loved ones? What it do? It's Pare Young right here. You know where I'm from. Thanks for tuning in. And if you're new to this channel right here, just hit the subscribe button real quick and give it a like if you think it's cool, if you think it's real. You know what I mean? Trip game. I'm over here with some of the OG Pares, man, in LA, man. And right now, we're about to chop it up, share a little bit of history and how it was back in the days and during their generation, man. I got the OG Pare Shady right here from JUDAS, and I got OG Pare right here, Gizmo from Hillside. So they're gonna teach us a little bit about the history from back in the days, man. Pare, Gizmo, introduce yourself, bro, and tell us about your experience during your gangbanging childhood from back in the days, bro.
Okay, so Gizmo here. Start off with the story and when I first started here in LA, 1986. I went to Virgil Junior High. At that time, the population of LA was mostly Hispanic, 35% Filipinos, a little bit of mixture of like Asians, like Koreans, Chinese, but mostly it was, Latinos and Filipinos, considering that area, which was like Vermont, First Street, Third Street, Beverly. Uh, Beverly and Temple became like the historic Filipino town where the concentration of most Filipinos were living at that time. And we were about half a mile to a mile away from, the epicenter of the community, you know. And along with that, during the 80s, the gang culture was very prevalent to the youth of Los Angeles. It was like a cancer. It wasn't cool, for you not to be part of a set. That's what we called it. Um, you couldn't get, you couldn't establish a reputation, respect from your peers. It's hard to get women, girls. It's hard to belong to a group. So you are forced to join a gang. Uh, at that time, the gangs that were in LA, as I recall, or in that area was Satanas, it was Hellside, Tropang Hudas, E&G, Rebel Boys, Jeff Rocks, Flipside. I was exposed uh, when I was in seventh grade, um, to the gang lifestyle. That's when I was, introduced to it. I didn't join a gang yet, but I started hanging out, as everyone did, right? Right, Potter? Like that's how you start.
Yeah,
So,
me too, man. I can relate. Yeah, bro. Yeah,
you just one friend will draw you in, and
yeah,
they will show you the camaraderie. They will welcome you. They will
yes,
treat you
sir.
like a brother, like better than a brother. They will treat you like a family.
Like
They
a
will,
family.
they
Yeah,
will,
yeah.
they will bring you in, right? But on the flip side of that, come with the good times, the good feelings, also the bad times, the bad. Like you carry everyone's burden. If I don't get along with someone, my enemy is your enemy.
It's all bad for them.
That's all bad, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
that was the culture then. So imagine walking down the street, right? Like, um, even being dressed like a nerd. Like if you go to like a Filipino restaurant and then you run into like let's say a gang, you can tell right away who's in a gang by the way they dress, the aura of one's personality. You can already tell
Yeah.
from like far distance whether they're gangbangers or not, right? Because people then mad dogged each other. It's
Oh,
not like
okay.
now. You know what I mean, Connor? Like
Yeah.
now, before. like I would stare you down. Even if you're from afar away, I would stare you down if I know you're a gangbanger. If I don't know you and you look like a gangbanger, I will stare you down, and I will want you to stare me down because that's how we start the beef, right? That's how
Yes, sir.
that's how we start friction,
Yeah.
right? If I see you go to the restroom, I will go there with you, and I will hit you up in the restroom, and then boom, right? That's when what do we call it? Squabble, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Help me with the lingo. I'm
That's
forgetting.
how it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it was. So,
So, uh,
right?
what do you call? By the way, is can you share with us how did you end up with Hellside and what was the other existing Pinoy hoods during that time? And you know,
Okay, so when I was in junior high, you know, I was still you know I was still not convinced to join a gang because the influence at that time wasn't as strong. Junior high, seventh, eighth grade, ninth grade, right? It wasn't as
yeah,
strong as when I stepped into high school. In high school, you had to prove yourself because the thing was, you start off as a low guy, a little guy, dealing with like the big guys who are the seniors, right? You're gonna get bullied. If it wasn't for the gang, I would have been bullied. They served me as protection. So when I stepped into high school, which was 10th grade at that time, I went to Marshall. So Marshall was a PR hood at that time. It was Pinoy Real, right? And then where we lived in an apartment. And my upstairs neighbor, he was from Hillside, right? And then the people that I was hanging out with, or the friends that I made during 10th grade, they were all into Hillside. So in the beginning, Hillside wasn't forcing, they wouldn't force you to join the gang. They want you to come in like, you know, willingly,
voluntarily. Okay, okay.
voluntarily. Like they won't force you. There's no force jump in.
Yeah. Unlike other gangs, right?
Yeah, unlike other gangs, like.
Yeah.
So there was this one Saturday afternoon. We just boys will be boys. We started drinking. Like one shot got too many, and I got tilted. Guess what? You're tilted. You're in the gang. You're part. You're hanging out with a gang. Guess what's gonna happen? Right?
Oh,
All right, jump
yeah.
in. Boom. I got jumped in. Along with the jump in, they would jump you in for like a certain amount of time. I forget how long. I remember, that you had the option to fight or you just take the beating, right? In the beginning, I
Yeah.
fought. Like I couldn't count, but I probably it was like a good 10 seconds. I fought back, but I fought three
Yeah, yeah.
people, right? 10 seconds. If you're fighting, 10 seconds is a long time,
Yeah,
right? That
yeah,
that, that
yeah.
that's gonna look like that's gonna seem like it's like 5 to 7 minutes,
Yeah.
especially if you're fighting like three people. So after like about 10 seconds, I just curled up, and then in came the beating, right? So you just waited for that to stop, right? I got
Yeah.
my back all beat up, Remember the Nike Cortez?
Yeah, yeah,
You know the
yeah.
sti- the sole marks of Nike Cortez was all over my back. I probably had like three, four, five markings in my back of the Nike Cortez. They were
Ah,
bruised,
that's
but
great.
yeah, the sole markings of the Nike Cortez.
Yeah.
After the beating, they would mark you. They would put a burn in your wrist.
Ah, all right.
Uh, yeah. So
Yeah, we got one
therefore,
in
they
our
can.
hand.
Yeah. So therefore, if you meet another Hillside person, and you're in doubt, ask them, "Hey, man, where's your mark?" If they don't, then guess what? They're not Hillside. You beat them up.
Oh.
You know.
So,
So
uh,
I was exposed to Hillside way before 10th grade, like probably in the eighth and ninth grade. But I just hung around them. They didn't force me. But when 10th grade happened, that's when effort. Let's go. You know, the the major factor why I joined as well was because other gangs was already labeling me as Hellside,
I
even
see,
though
I
I
see.
wasn't, because you know,
Yeah.
since I'm hanging out, I'm guilty by association.
Oh.
It's
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah.
just, you know what I mean? So like the camaraderie between me and the other people, like my other friends who were in the gang, was incomplete for me. So that's why I kind of, you know, jumped in lieu of respect to, you know, because I don't want them like, you know, that's the mindset I had at that. Like I don't want them fighting for me, and I'm not from them. You know, I'm not from their clique. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of understand.
Yeah. So
So,
there was that influence, whether you call it
uh,
influence, respect, whatever.
uh,
That's what, one of the driving factors.
yeah. By the way, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to clear something out about, of course, Hellside. As we know, or as you may have heard of, they also have this Hellside in Alhambra, which they claim to be a Chinese gang. Can you clarify if you what which one came first and what is the original or the history from what you know? But the Hellside
Okay.
Alhambra
So
is
yeah,
China.
no,
Yeah.
yeah. L.A. Hellside was the first one to come out. So
Okay.
yeah, Hellside came. Uh, First it was Sigi Sigi. It was Sigi Sigi Commando, I think, right? And then Satanas came about.
Oh, damn.
And
Sige,
then
sige,
with
came out
Satan,
first.
yeah.
Okay.
And then, you know, with that gang, I think Satanas sprouted. And then the real founders of Hellside, I think they came from, they came from Sigi Sigi and Satan. But they started in LA, like around that area, the Filipino town, Beverly, Temple, Rosemont, around that area. That's where Hellside started. The actual hood at that time was in Robinson. Uh, it was a laundromat that we were hanging out at. Robinson and Beverly. So that's where we started. So what happened was, you know, the gang got big, so people ventured out, right? So they want to get out of Filipino town. Mom's a nurse, or mom's doing this, or rent in LA became you know you know too much, or like one house became too small because a lot of families were living one unit. Families would venture out. They would go to like the neighboring cities, such as Alhambra, Gardena, Carson. So when people migrated, so did the mindset. And at that time, Alhambra was it was becoming to be the secondary Chinatown of Los Angeles. So I'm not sure what I forget what the story is with Alhambra, but it started in L.A. You know, somebody moved there or found someone to jump in that's Asian, and from there it just scattered like wildfire. It became
I
big and
see.
crazy.
I see. Yeah.
The at
So,
that time, yeah, but at that time when I was active, LA was active, and the crazier chapter for me was Gardena, which was
Gardena,
in the
Hellside.
South Bay, Gardena, Hillside. Those dudes, everyone had their own style, right? The way you dress. That was the first time I saw a Filipino dressed like a Hispanic, like cholo style.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
before, like when I in the '80s, like Filipinos, you can tell, right? They would wear baggy pants,
Mm.
Vans, the Vans, hand shoes, right?
Shoes?
Either
Yeah,
white
Vans.
or black, right? Or if you even go before that, we wore Chinese shoes. You can buy that at you any store, like a gift store for like $2, right? And
Like
then
the
they
Kung
just
Fu
wear,
shoes?
yeah, the kung fu shoes,
Yeah.
Chinese
Ah,
shoes,
okay,
kung
okay.
fu shoes. That, or you just wear like a baggy sweater, preferably like Guess. If you're B&G, you'd wear Guess because you want the question,
Oh, I
represent the
see.
question. But for us, we were just like wear like a designer, loose sweater or loose shirt. with baggy pants and Vans or the kung fu shoes. Style your hair either flat top or pompadour. Right? But you know,
Hey, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But first time I saw a Filipino dressed up like a cholo was with Gardena Health. I was like, what the hell? Who are these guys? Are they Mexicans? Are they Latinos? And they would talk Tagalog. You know,
Oh,
I'm like, oh,
okay.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, so that's that in my head at that time. So that's what differentiates you guys from us. I guess because they were fighting a different war in the South Bay, so they adapted to the culture over there at that time being, right? So they decided, they started their own culture and dressed upon what the culture was, which was, you know, Latino style, you know, the Ben Davis, the Dickies, the white T-shirt, and then the what do you call it, the Cortez, you know, like straight, and then with the hairnet. Remember the hairnet?
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, they just have the pompadour, and then they wear the hairnet in the back, they would flush it back. You know, those are the days. Coming back to,
That was
yeah, so
that was the culture. Yeah.
yeah, and then people would throw like during the weekends, right? Friday, Saturday, people would throw like house parties, either in LA, West Covina, or Gardena, or Carson. You know, concentrations of Filipinos, especially West Covina, right? And of course, flyers. You would get to know about the parties because of flyers. Flyers would circulate around town, LA, wherever, right? You make plans with your friends and go to the party. Attending parties, you'd see one flock of gangs over there on one side, another flock of gangs on the other side. Right? It's just a matter of time before the gangs inside fight or there's going to be a drive-by. I don't know if
Mm,
if you
yeah.
experienced it.
Uh,
You know, they would close the
yeah.
party down. Yeah, they would close the party down once a party. I mean, once a fight starts, or someone fires a gun or fires at the house, or someone gets
Dang.
hurt on the outside.
That's what
Yeah, the good
happens.
old days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
old days.
I can relate. I can relate. So, this whole time, Pare, did you stay in the hood, or eventually you somehow maneuvered to move somewhere else to was trying to stay
Well,
away from the gang life?
so when I was in high school, right?
Yeah.
I jumped in or I joined Hellside when I was in 10th grade. Got through 10th grade, and I lived through 10th grade. Then 11th grade, a year of being Hellside under my belt, reputation, all the drama that I've caused around town, this and that and this. Um, I started, the heat started coming to me, right? Like other gangs would know who I am or who I was, like what I was about. So one night, I remember it was a Saturday night. We lived in an apartment in LA, and we parked our cars, in an open parking lot. Like it's open to the public. Anyone can get in there. It wasn't gated. It was easily accessible from the sidewalk. Parked my truck, went inside the house, the apartment. And I think by the time I got in, um, there was a gang that was following PR, where we are. I don't know. They shot the truck out. They fired a 22. Uh, there was a bullet. There was a. It's not a bullet hole, but it's a bullet dent on the door. There was a Toyota pickup, and also a bullet. There was a crack on the windshield. A neighbor of mine saw that happen. Um, took out his piece. He had a 9 at that time. He was drinking in his patio, in his porch. Came down and fired at those guys. So he didn't shoot at them. He just fired up in the sky like a friendly warning. So yeah. Imagine these were kids, right? Shooting up a car, like a truck. So this the my neighbor is he's a little bit older, like more mature. So he just fired like a shot up in the air. I think the PR guys heard it and took off, right? So the next day I wake up, right? I was like, what the hell happened to my truck? Um, there was a bullet hole, there was a bullet
That's
dent on the
crazy.
door, and yeah,
Yeah.
bullet hole on the, bullet dent on the door, a bullet crack on the windshield. My blinkers were shot. I think they batted it. They slashed my tire, and then here comes my neighbor and told me all about it. Oh yeah, there was like a bunch of guys that vandalized your car. They fired like a, I don't know, he said like 22 because the bullets didn't go in. So when that happened, right, of course, my parents, I was still living with my parents. And, well, they got worried and they panicked. So I think about 6 weeks later, that's when we moved out of LA. I went to the San Fernando Valley.
Oh, I
Uh,
see. I see. Okay.
yeah. So we migrated to the valley, thinking that, that by moving that we'll be immune to, the scenario, the situation of, you know, less gang. But no, the valley had their own freaking gang. Yeah, they had their own
Yeah,
culture of
yeah,
gang. Here,
yeah.
the problem with the valley compared to LA, the valley had Asian gangs. This was like about like the 92, 93, stepping into 93. These Asian dudes were rich. They were fucking rich. They
You're
had no
talking about
problem with going.
the Koreans?
Yeah, talking about the Koreans, the Vietnamese. I think they were mostly Koreans, right, Shade?
Yeah, that's what I noticed during my time.
The valley. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially like like the North Ridge, Porter Ranch area. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Chatsworth.
were, yeah, Chatsworth. They were, yeah, I think they were, some of them were like Vietnamese, Korean, but they were, they weren't poor like Filipinos in LA. They weren't, you know. But these guys had everything to lose. I think they were just wanting respect or going with the times, you know. Because of course, who wants to be bullied, right? Bullying was
Yeah.
an issue before, and I think this is one of the cure for bullying. Right again.
I think it still is. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you get, yeah, so I mean, you're not gonna get bullied if you're in a gang because people are gonna protect you. I think that's what happened there.
Yeah, yeah.
Little did they know, but if it came down to it, you know, some of them fought, some of them did. Some of them had heart, some of them did. Most of them did. Only a few, and those few, they're either wasted their life or they don't have a life anymore. They're either dead or who knows where they're at. You know, um, so that's when we migrated to the valley. Uh, and I saw a different, it was a different culture again, like I was exposed to like different Asian gangs and not knowing how they acted, reacted. Um, you know, there was only a few Asians at that time. I remember going to Kennedy. I think Shady was there, right?
Yep,
Right?
Kennedy High?
Yeah,
yep,
Kennedy.
but together.
That's where I met him. You can count the number of Asians. Uh, yeah, I remember. Like one time we got jumped, in a donut shop.
Around,
right,
around
right,
the
Shady.
area? Yeah.
Right,
In the
like a
818?
block,
Yeah.
2 blocks away from school. Right after school, we got jumped because uh, Shady got into a fight during lunchtime, and then whoever he got into a fight with called up their homies, and they waited for us like, right outside, the donut shop. They knew what our behavior was, so
Yeah, yeah.
they waited for us in the
That,
donut shop. It was two against how many? I don't know. Was it seven or I don't know what happened.
To
Yeah. Um,
corroborate the story with that one, it's like basically, I felt I was getting bullied in school, man. This guy, I guess you can call it a little bit of insecurity. This guy was playing around with me. With, the nacho cheese they used to give out in lunch in school. He was spreading it on me. I would spread it back to him, and he spread it back to me. And then there was one time that I kind of got fed up because everybody was kind of like laughing at me. I felt like the whole
yeah.
school was looking, laughing at me. So I got pissed off, man. I just started taking off on this guy, man, and I didn't even know. I just kind of snapped,
Yeah.
and then his cousins, they were, I was also fairly new at the school, since this was like around 92 or 93. I got to U.S. around 1990. These guys were like Phil Am, they were more like American kind of
Yeah.
Filipinos, right?
They were
Yeah.
Americanized already.
Yeah, they were like more established. People know them. They status wise, they're probably richer than us and everything like that. So already there, I already felt some kind of like they were
Discrimination.
inferior. You had yeah, kind of like
Yeah.
inferiority, like like there's that status in school, man, like a fob. We're like a fob kind. They had better clothes, that kind of thing. But that's all. That's when you're younger, you think that way. Nowadays, you don't really see that way.
Yeah.
Not,
Culture has
the
changed. Yeah.
culture has changed, but there is some discrimination between the status, within even within our own type of people, right?
Peoples. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of
With
get,
our own race.
right within our own race. We speak a little bit with a little bit more accent than more of like the Americanized, like the Filipino Americans, you would say.
Yeah. It's
So
understood. Yeah.
that in itself, you kind of felt a little bit something, like. But then, I just felt like I was getting bullied, man, and I took off. And then these guys, they called some of their homies that did not even go to the same school as
Yeah.
we did. They were, you know, and me being, I was, I'm a dumbass, man. Even they gave me a suspension from school. I was even happy. I said, "Fuck, I don't have to go to school the next day, man." So I was like, "Whatever, man." Right? We started walking down the alley, man, and Gio got hit up by this one guy, and the guy took off on him, and we kind of panicked, man. We just all kind of split up. I got caught up in there, man, and next thing you know, either I got jumped or I wasn't really sure what happened, man. I blacked out, Pare. I
I
woke